What if every ancient civilization, no matter how isolated, no matter how separated by ocean and mountain and thousands of miles of empty land, all left behind the same clues? Not similar clues, the same ones, the same numbers, the same alignments, the same obsession with the same stars, the same stories about a great flood that swallowed a world that came before. Historians call this coincidence. But the more you actually look at the evidence, the harder that word is to say, with a straight face. Because here's the thing that keeps serious researchers up at night. These civilizations never met each other. They could not have. The Maya were building in the jungles of Central America, while the Egyptians were carving granite in the Sahara, while the people of the Indus Valley were laying out perfectly planned cities in South Asia. No boats connected them. No trade routes ran between them. No shared language existed. And yet, when you line up what they built and what they believed and what they recorded in stone, you find yourself staring at what looks like a single source, one original idea, scattered across the whole planet. So either every ancient culture independently arrived at the same conclusions about the cosmos, about mathematics, about the afterlife, about catastrophe, about the stars, or they all inherited those conclusions from somewhere else, from something older, from something we have completely erased from the history books. Let us start with the number that refuses to go away, 25,920. That is the number of years it takes for the Earth to complete one full wobble on its axis, a slow, grinding cycle that astronomers call the precession of the equinoxes. It is not something you can discover in a single lifetime. You cannot even discover it in 10 lifetimes. To measure it accurately, you need thousands of years of careful, unbroken observation, passing records down generation after generation without losing a single data point. The ancient Greeks are usually credited with figuring this out around 127 BC. A man named Hipparchus noticed the stars had shifted slightly from where older records said they should be, and he worked out why. Except the number 25,920 shows up carved into structures that are thousands of years older than Hipparchus. The Hindu Vedic texts, some of the oldest written documents on Earth, describe a cosmic cycle of exactly this length. The Babylonians used it in their astronomical calculations, and at Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the measurements of the entire temple complex, when converted using the units the builders themselves used, produce this number with stunning precision. The main causeway is 1,128 units long. The outer enclosure is 1,096 units wide. These are not random figures. They are fractions of 25,920. They are pieces of the same cosmic clock, built into stone, so the number would survive whatever came next. Someone taught all of these people the same thing. And whoever that teacher was, they were working with a level of astronomical sophistication that we only caught up to a few hundred years ago. Now look at the flood. Every civilization on Earth has one. Not just a flood, a specific kind of flood. A catastrophic, world-ending deluge that wiped out almost everything, left only a handful of survivors, and forced humanity to start again from almost nothing. The Sumerians wrote it down in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is older than the Bible by at least 1,000 years. The Hindus have Manu, who was warned by a fish and built a boat to survive the rising waters. The Greeks had Deucalion. The Aztecs described 4 previous worlds, each destroyed, the last one swallowed by flood. The Norse called it the Great Winter before the world was remade. Indigenous peoples across North America, across the Pacific Islands, across sub-Saharan Africa. All of them. The same story. A world before this one. Water. Destruction. Survival. Rebuilding. Historians say this is because floods are common and frightening. So every culture naturally invented a flood myth. That explanation sounds reasonable, until you look at the specific details these stories share. The warning that comes before. The righteous survivor chosen to carry knowledge through. The animals, the mountain where the boat finally rests, the bird sent out to find dry land. These are not vague similarities. These are the same story told in different languages by people who had no way of talking to each other. And here is what makes it impossible to dismiss. We now know that around 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, sea levels rose by roughly 400 feet. 400 feet. Entire coastlines vanished underwater. Lands that had been inhabited for thousands of years simply ceased to exist. Hundreds of millions of acres of human settlement swallowed by the ocean in what, geologically speaking, was almost no time at all. If there were cities on those coastlines, they are gone. If there were records, they drowned. If there were survivors, they ran inland carrying nothing but their memories. And their memories became the flood myths. Now look at what the survivors supposedly built. Go to Göbekli Tepe in southern Turkey. This site was buried deliberately, intentionally covered over and sealed, around 10,000 years ago. When archaeologists uncovered it, they found massive carved pillars arranged in precise circles, covered in detailed animal carvings, built with a level of skill and planning that should not have existed at that time. According to everything we thought we knew, the people alive 12,000 years ago were simple hunter-gatherers, barely organized, no agriculture yet, no cities, no complex religion, just small bands of people following animals across open land. Göbekli Tepe was built by those people, or so the official story goes. But the site required coordinated labor from hundreds of workers. It required planning. It required knowledge of geometry. It required someone who knew what they were doing. And then it was buried. Not abandoned. Buried. Someone filled it in deliberately, as if they were preserving it, hiding it, protecting it from something that was coming. What were they afraid of? Now go to Puma Punku in Bolivia, sitting at nearly 13,000 feet above sea level on the Bolivian plateau. The stones there are cut with a precision that still draws engineers from around the world to stand in front of them and shake their heads. The H-blocks, as researchers call them, are identical to each other. Not approximately identical. Identical. The same angles, the same slots, the same interior cuts, repeated over and over across stones weighing tens of tons each. The cuts are clean and sharp, the internal angles perfect. There are drill holes bored into the hardest stone available with a smoothness that requires, by any honest engineering assessment, a rotating tool. The Tiwanaku people who are credited with building this site are not believed to have had the wheel. They are not believed to have had iron tools. They are not believed to have had any of the technology that the stones themselves prove was used to make them. And here's the detail that stops people cold. Puma Punku sits at an altitude where oxygen is thin, temperatures are brutal, and the nearest source of the specific stone used in construction is 60 miles away. 60 miles of high-altitude terrain, without wheels, without draft animals capable of hauling this weight, without roads. The logistics alone are nearly impossible. And yet, there it sits. Now line all of this up together. The same astronomical numbers encoded in structures on opposite sides of the planet. The same flood story carried by every culture with no connection to each other. Sites built with precision that exceeds the known technology of the people credited with building them. And the oldest sites being the most sophisticated, with quality declining over time as if knowledge was being slowly lost rather than slowly gained. This is the pattern. And once you see it, it does not let go. The mainstream explanation asks you to believe in a staggering number of coincidences, all happening simultaneously, across cultures with zero contact. The alternative explanation requires only one thing: that before the flood, before the ice melted and the seas swallowed the coastlines, there was already a civilization sophisticated enough to understand the precession of the equinoxes, to build with machine-level precision, to navigate the oceans, and to leave survivors behind who carried fragments of that knowledge to every corner of the world they could reach. Those survivors did not arrive with blueprints. They arrived with memories, partial knowledge, half-understood mathematics, stories they told over and over until the stories became religion. And the people who received those stories built the best monuments they could with what they understood, encoding the numbers into stone so the knowledge could not be lost again. That is why the oldest is the finest. That is why the quality falls over time. That is why the same numbers and the same stories appear everywhere at once. Not because ancient people were primitive and got lucky, but because they were the inheritors of something far older, and they were doing their absolute best to hold on to it. The evidence is not in one place. It is in every place, simultaneously, all of it pointing backward to the same moment, the same catastrophe, the same lost world. And the harder you look, the more clearly you can see it.